Welcome to the Intercut Podcast channel, the weekly place to hear the latest on movies, TV, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zach Rishevich, and joining me are Chef de Partie, Amanda the Jedi, and he's an excellent emergency contact. It's Arturo Zurita.
I went to a Cubs game. That's where I got this. It's not bear related, other than it being from Chicago. They were giving out aprons.
You could have convinced me. It's got the right shade of navy blue.
Bro,
they knew what they were doing.
They knew what they were doing. All the boys went to the game because they were giving out these. It was Lyrical Lemonade night, and he's obviously big over here.
Yeah.
He's a Sox fan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Bless his soul. But he did a Cubs night, so they were giving out free jerseys with the Lyrical Lemonade patch.
Nice.
They had the whole thing in the background. We went for these. And got these bad boys extra. So everybody got one of these if they were there early enough. And the boys were shirtless. Just
apron.
these. There's 2 pockets in here. They had a beer in each one.
Incredible.
Are aprons just cool in hip-hop videos now or something? Or is it just all
has to be, bro.
influenced from The Bear? Because The Bear is a pretty cool show.
The Bear, it's probably just the Bear influence. I think this wasn't anything to do with Lyrical Lemonade. It was just the Cubs giving them out. So I got to get a 2 for that day. A very good bonus game to go to. But, I mean, yeah, you're right. Perfect shade for the Bear. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I'm like... Andre 3K, you know how he's been wearing those smocks? I put this bad boy on at the beginning of the day, time to get to work.
It's an official seeming uniform for the occasion. So we're returning to The Bear from Chris Storer, which is back for its 10-episode 3rd season, courtesy of FX on Hulu. And unlike the first 2 seasons, this one will eventually air on Hulu. Don't know if you heard about that one, but we'll discuss the show without spoilers at first and then get into some more episode specifics as we go. But the show, which is the reigning Emmy Award winner for Best Comedy Series, returns to the Chicago beef sandwich shop turned Michelin star-seeking restaurant with the same name as the show for more stress-inducing shouting matches and finely crafted tweezer dishes. Art, we recorded our Best TV of the Year 2024 so far episode last week, and we made sure to note that you had reservations for The Bear at the top table. Now that you've had a chance to see season 3, are you still ready to award it with the Bib Gourmand of prestige television?
My little James Beard nomination. I think so. I'm trying to see exactly where I would fit it, and I think it definitely would have been in the top 5. Surprisingly, I had Boiling Point, a series that premiered, I think, in the UK right at the tail end of last year. We got it on Netflix this year. I'd probably put it right above that one because of the history that we have with these characters, even though it decided to do things differently, and I was a little skeptical by it, but I knew that it's always had this artsy side, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, Amanda, what were your initial reactions to that 3rd season?
Oddly enough, I feel like people really didn't like that first episode, and I did like it. I kind of liked the slower, meditative episodes where it's just kind of showing where characters were, where characters get, just kind of getting a little bit more in his head, especially how frantic the finale of season 2 was. It was kind of, that reset episode was good, and then the episode 10 kind of followed a similar structure as it was going through. It was a little bit more procedural and just some of the cooking, but it was like always like, I just found that way more satisfying to have going on, even if it was going on longer than some people might have wanted. I feel like with television, sometimes we're so inundated with just words and plot and exposition being thrown at us that we always feel like things have to be moving along, but like sometimes you can get a lot of that movement without things needing to be said necessarily because you're just showing us
cinema. Yeah,
it's, you're showing us, and I like the vibe. Some people could probably be like, it's a little indulgent. I know I've seen some people say that it feels like half a season. I think I would agree with that a little bit more than I would agree.
Fair.
Yeah. There's critiques I don't agree with, but just people being like, I like everything I saw, but it still feels like half a season. I'm like, that's fair. I do agree with that. There's some things that I didn't love.
The facts.
The what?
The facts.
The facts. Yeah, I know. Don't like that. But yeah, no, there's just things. Yeah, it's weird. There's certain episodes that people are like, this was the best one. And I was like, I didn't like that one actually. But
it's split between the Bear itself when it used to be the beef and now that it is the Bear. Do you like that upscale artsiness that we all go to film festivals for? So we don't mind as a group here. We know the story's kind of been getting there. Or do people like that side window beef, the easy sandwich, give us some of that stuff. And I think they took a couple of swings for season 3, and I'm fine with it because as long as they bring it back for season 4, I think this was something that needed to happen.
Yeah, reset the
elevate,
characters. Yeah,
what they have coming up. But yeah, to be continued was a little rough.
A little bit. Yeah, there's just some
the
moments.
text threw me off. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
What do you mean?
Yeah,
That's again contributing to half a season. But yeah, Zach, you go. Sorry.
No, it's just funny that this is a show that's on FX on Hulu, because this third season reminded me a lot of another recent highly acclaimed third season of a show on FX on Hulu, Atlanta's third season, which took the show out of America and brought it to Europe and sort of switched up the tone and went a little bit more exploratory. And it in some ways it feels like it's different from the show that came before it, because they're exploring a different side of the equation. They're expanding themselves in certain ways. But I also feel like taking us away from some of the things that we know and love about the show make it like slightly less satisfying. And I'm not saying that to say I didn't enjoy The Bear. I think all Bear is good The Bear.
Yes.
But this is probably like my least favorite of the 3 seasons, and I still would have it easily in my top 5 of the shows I've seen so far this year. But you definitely see them kind of like taking a breath and sort of exploring things and feeling things out. And I agree with you, Amanda, that first episode, I know some people didn't like it. I thought it was pretty remarkable, like very uncharitably, you could say it's like the longest previously on ever. But I think,
but I like it.
I think in order to like sustain a montage like that in that way is pretty remarkable and speaks to how effective this team is at communicating information in just these little snapshots. I don't know if you noted the music that was playing throughout. Apparently it's a Nine Inch Nails song that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross adapted for the show. And it, obviously they're the masters at giving you that kind of social network sort of air of like intrigue and discomfort, and there's some feeling that something's awry, but you also have a momentum going, and that sort of encapsulates what a lot of The Bear is. So I don't know. There's, like you, Amanda, I think there's episodes that really worked for me and episodes that maybe didn't work quite as well for me. I am left with the feeling, though, that like what felt like a show that was like really pushing its characters to their limits and having them change and grow and evolve was a little bit stuck in a moment of stasis for most of this season.
How so? For who?
I mean, I think, there are certain conflicts that we bring into this season that don't really find like a full arc. And some of that is the whole to be continued aspect of it. But like, without getting into the specifics quite yet, I think there are questions that linger over certain characters on the show. I mean, the question of like Carmy and Claire specifically is one that comes into season 3 and doesn't really leave season 3 feeling a whole lot more resolved than it was at the beginning.
I tap into that right off the bat. Are y'all the Carmy Sid shippers, or do y'all see what Claire's supposed to be?
I see what Claire's supposed to be.
I see what Claire's supposed to be, and after this season, I'm shipping Sid with somebody else, but we'll get to that later.
That's fair. I would like to hear that.
I've never shipped Sid and Carmy. I like them as friends. I like showing on screen that people can be platonic friends with similar passions and can work together in that way.
More shows about platonic friendship.
For sure.
Yeah, like platonic, and showing that those relationships have just as much value as romantic relationships, because not even just in movies and stuff. I just do think that we've gone through decades of people saying this kind of romantic love is the most important type of relationship or connection you can have with people in your life. And I think we do need to stress more that like some of the best relationships and connections in your life will be people you meet, can be platonic, can people you meet in other ways that just match you in different ways.
Zach and I are platonic.
There you go.
Mostly, it just works. Most
of the bros.
But rewatching it, Claire, in that first episode where she showcased, where she remembers, like, I knew what your restaurant was going to be. You're the bear. Why would I not remember? I'm like, I don't know. It's here. But people are rejecting part of the story because they've already made up their mind over here. So they're refusing to see what she is, and they're adding a lot to Sid. I don't know if you guys have read they lost what they were going for in the screenplay. It's like, there's no way we're this delusional that you have made what you want to see the like epitome of what it needs to be, and if they don't go there, it's not going to be that. I would go farther than saying that they're beyond platonic. Sid and Carmy are reenacting what he and what's his name from the soup did to him.
Well, yeah, but he's been doing that with everyone. That's like the whole
But
thing
I
of
think
the
in
show.
in
particular, he is
Sydney. He has now given Sydney the same issues that chef gave him.
That stress, the panic attacks, and he doesn't, and he's realizing he's doing it, but hasn't been able to shut it off yet.
That's almost even worse because obviously he's not going to be as machismo as the previous guy. He's this new form of toxicity, and people are busy shipping them. But we'll break it down.
Yeah, no, it's like you're currently shipping him with her with an abuser, kind of right now, like
kind of right,
a little bit like kind of not to the level that when you hear that said out loud that it can get to, but like kind of. But
with the fights they've had, there's no coming back from that.
Yeah.
I think we can fully launch into spoilers. Like we kind of given our overall impressions, but to talk a little bit more specifically, this is really the season about the stresses of opening and sustaining this restaurant, right? Sustaining the Bear as functioning workplace, and when the money gets involved and there's pressure from that, and the mounting tension forces tensions to run high, and the words get exchanged, and Carmy, as you're mentioning, Art, starts to sort of emulate the chefs that traumatized him more and more, and perhaps he's pushing that trauma then down onto other people. Did you like that we were sort of focused on the day-to-day stresses of running the Bear this season? Because it really was central to the restaurant for the most part.
Yeah.
That's
part of what
from season 1.
Yeah, and like part of what I liked about it a little bit is almost kind of like we were talking about Whiplash a lot today, but this seeking the perfection and wanting the prestige of something versus whether that is sustainable, and whether or not you should have done something different or smarter or worked in a different way that technically. And then what's really interesting about the season is that like the Bear as a restaurant is super successful. People love it. The experiences, at least what you can see, it's always full. It's always doing well. They have no issue booking every table.
But he doesn't celebrate it.
But the sandwich window is what's still making the most money for them.
Always,
it's the
right?
Only profitable thing about the business. And he can't take the time to celebrate it because he's just constantly worried about being judged by everybody around him. So he's holding himself to these really high impossible standards that is then hurting everybody around him.
Yeah, I mean, this sort of gets into some of his perfectionism and his like trying to aspire to this greatness, but he starts changing the menu every day.
Yes.
There's all the little like costly mistakes of demanding that pressure, whether it's like plates getting spilled or needing to refire dishes and stuff like that. Like those. After we get past that first episode, which is a little bit more montage, the episodes 2 and 3, Next and Doors, really do a great job of just showing all the like little things that can go wrong that just throw things off. They don't feel like episodes that are necessarily like big narrative developments, but they are like these great examples of like the rhythms of the show. Some of the particularly wonderful bits of like dialogue back and forth with the fights between Richie and Carmy in episode 2, and Sydney reluctantly having to be in between them. What did you think about the evolving dynamics within the restaurant in season 2? In season 3, Art?
When you rewatch the season 2, when it came to them creating what was going to be the menu, when he asked her, come with me, come over. It's that famous scene where he takes his jeans out of the oven. When they're creating what the menu's supposed to be, they have that all set. So for him to pull that after season 2 is all about like, what we need is consistency, different menu every single day, right?
Yeah.
Is him again pushing against what everybody else is going for. Because I agree with the Whiplash side of it. You have somebody who has put his partner, the person who he likes, to the side the same way that it happens in Whiplash, because he has one goal, and that's to get whatever star this is. I had completely forgotten he already had a star. Comparing a lot of the other relationships, like Cousin, when you're catching him in season 1 to 2, a big part of it is that he doesn't really see his purpose. His biggest fear of changing it to the Bear was always, you're kicking people out like me. If we can't have a stand, then you're also like kicking me out. And that expanded after one of the best episodes from last season, which is where he goes to Ever and he learns all that stuff. The fact that he has his own like system at play, right? He's always he's always arguing with his own cousin. He's telling Carmy, you worry about the kitchen, but don't yell at my people over here.
Yeah.
And that creates its own hierarchy, because the same way that Carmy may be spilling some of his trauma down to Sydney, and Sydney now starts yelling, Cousin has what's the main Fac's name? I'm blanking on his name, but the one who actually cooks, the one who's been there.
Maddie Matheson. I don't know what his name.
Maddie's character.
Yeah. Neil. Yeah.
He does the same thing to Neil. They argue all throughout season 1. In season 2, he says he wants to try something. He just wanted to work at the beef. And he goes, no, you don't work with people. One of the biggest scenes in season 3 was he asked Carmy, skips over Cousin, yo, can I take that soup out?
Yeah.
And it is the most embarrassing shot. Goes and he pours it and he brings it back. And immediately
he's so proud. He's like,
right, I did it. Cousin comes in and he goes, I told you are not ready. And while he is right, he's not ready because Cousin has always told him, you're not there yet. You're not there yet.
But the main reason, one of the back for him, you know,
he doesn't go to bat for him. That's what I saw a lot from Cousin, was that he keeps putting him down. They're always fighting. He hates the Facts.
I think it's more that like you said, the hierarchy of the different things. It's when he comes back and Carmy starts going in on him. He immediately says, fuck off. But then he says, okay, actually, that was a huge fuck up. Don't do that again.
Yeah, don't do that again.
That's like an issue.
He's never given him the inspiration. I think when we saw Marcus get a lot better when he was doing all of his different things.
Yeah.
One of the most iconic scenes that you have in the first one is when he finally gets like the donut ready or whatever, the cake. But that was never Carmy. That was Sydney encouraging him. They even stopped to show you 3 characters going, you've inspired him a lot. He even says it. Thank you for inspiring me. By the time that inspiration leads to the donut, it's the most iconic scene. He shows it to what's his name, and that's when Carmy goes, "Are you messing with me right now?" Like it's just about who's actually watering the plants that are in this place, and it's just interesting to see how there's different hierarchies everywhere that you go at this point in time. And while it is half done, because we're not going to get the answer on what is Sydney going to choose. Is Carmy going to be okay? Is he going to get his lover back? Are they going to get the whatever stars? You end up at a midway point where they're all kind of frustrated, so it leads to a frustrated season. And that made sense to me.
Right. As the episodes continue, in episode 4, we receive word that the Chicago Tribune is planning to write a review of the restaurant, and that's sort of a thing that hangs over the rest of this season.
Already wrote it.
Already visited the restaurant, and we're sending a photographer. And also, ever CDC Adam Shapiro, played by actor Adam Shapiro, meets with Sydney and offers her a nice job at his new restaurant, which is another question that remains hanging over the rest of the season with the bear. The following episode is the one where we have the computer visits the bear, and they start to deal with the budget and try to talk about all the things that are making this too expensive to sustain. This is also the perhaps most fact-centric episode. We get the cameo appearance of John Cena's Fak.
Yeah.
Art, you alluded to this before, but perhaps a bit too much of the facts on season 3 of The Bear.
You would argue that when you see them, it's almost like they kind of want to make them a thing that they could merchandise.
Yeah.
And then J. Crew comes out with an entire Facts lineup. The shirt costs $150. They have a crew net sweater at $80. Bro, it was the most abysmal thing I've seen reaching into it. If I may, a little tangent here. Maxine, that whole trilogy, that's become that as well. He damn near is doing press saying that for Maxine, he went full MCU. How many Easter eggs can I bring back? He's really in that with A24. We're seeing it here with The Bear as well. They did the Facts as like, okay, we're getting very artsy. Everybody else is worried about other things. You guys still need those Chicagoans yelling, right? What if we had a guy from Boston? Like, bro, casting the extra Fak as John Cena was a no from me from the jump.
That really does just feel like John Cena wanted to be in the show, and they were like, yeah, you can be a Fak.
The man came in there trying to be a peacekeeper, literally. A peacemaker, sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Peacekeeper.
I feel like Neil Fak is as far on the periphery of the show as I want to go, and the more we dive into those facts, it just feels like we're getting further from the characters I actually want to hang out with. And I enjoy a random John Cena appearance, but it was just sort of like I didn't really dig the tone. I just feel like Chris Storer and the gang probably find their bit much funnier than I do. Like they're kind of funny, but they're not one of the main reasons I'm tuning into the show.
It felt like they thought they were gonna hit.
Yeah, I like them more with Claire. Like when Claire's like, okay,
Right.
love, please work me down what you're thinking.
Yeah, the way she
That
talks to
it's-
them. Yeah,
They're
I love how
funnier-
she talks to them.
because
They're
we love Molly
funny
Gordon.
opposite certain people. Like
Mhm.
even the scene in an episode that we're about to talk about with Jamie Lee Curtis, like that's kind of funny, but like I don't know. They kept having them go off on their little side adventures this year.
Yeah.
We're
Lot.
bringing up the haunting bit, which I think is a beautiful element, a thematic through line that they have with it. But they mention it so many times. Like, I don't know, it's a little bit much. I will give the second fact, the one who has like a more prominent role this season. He's got this one bit with I think it's Sheets, the one who's a baseball player.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Talking about how do you know so how do you know so much about the AAA? I had a couple parlays. I love that one.
Episode 6 was directed by Io Debris, and episode 8 is directed by Christopher Storer, Napkins and Ice Chips. And I feel like I've seen a lot of people talking about these two as some of the standout episodes of the season. Amanda, were you a fan of them? Did one stand out more than the other to you?
I loved Napkins. I didn't love parts of the other one. What was the other one called? Sheets?
Ice Chips.
Ice Chips, right. There's part, I really, really love Napkins. Because that's the one with John Bernthal and
yes,
her getting
the sort of Tina.
Tina's. I really like that, and I think that spoke to a lot of very pertinent and relevant things, and then just gave this nice moment with the chaos of what the beef was, and John's character as like this, looming presence throughout the entire show, but then actually getting a little bit more from him, like kind of outside of the family dynamic. So I really like that. I like Jamie Lee Curtis's character a lot, but I just felt like I didn't like an entire episode of that, I guess. I thought that it kind of got where it needed to go before it finished there. I'm sorry, some of this stuff, it's all like, do you want people to have kids? Because you're like, this is not going to make people want to have kids. You hear like somebody like dying in the next room, and they're like, get the crash cart. And it's like,
also, shout out. Do you see who was in there? Chicago's very own from Ghostlight comes in to play a doctor really quick.
Keith Kupfer, I believe.
That was cool.
I was happy to see him there. Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of the Ice Chips episode. It is a pretty like elongated scene between her and Jamie Lee, and I don't know, the rhythms of it are pretty interesting. The way they're able to sort of incorporate the contractions and the breathing, I thought was interesting, but it does sort of feel like a strange divergence that it has very little in common with the rest of the season. But I kind of dug that episode too. One of the standouts for me. Art, did you have a favorite episode this season?
I had a bunch of favorite scenes. I did like the Tina episode. That was pretty decent. I think it switches a couple things because Tina did yell in an earlier season to Sydney, "I've been here longer than when you were born." Girl, you got that like in 2019.
Yeah,
you got that like 2018, bro.
But I can see that is a thing that people say. That's like, I've been here since you were.
I try to something like that. I thought so, but she does make some mentions about how long she's known the brother. There's a bit in here where she's supposed to be from Chicago, and she goes, "What's an Italian beef?"
You would know, that's fair. These are all good points.
She does have a New York accent though, so I don't know if it's
maybe she's not a native.
Yeah, I'm not making assumptions for the show, but Napkins was decent. Let's see. Out of the other ones, I personally wish that we had more stuff from the beef window, because you can't just keep saying, "Oh yeah, it's making the money. Oh, it's doing really good. Here's some more scenes for Ibrahim." You got to show us a little bit more about what's happening in there. So
definitely, I was hoping there's that one episode that begins with Ibra. I was hoping there was going to be a whole Ibra-centric episode.
And it wasn't.
It wasn't.
There was a good bit this time where they keep bringing up. You see it since the first season, where he's got the therapy that he goes to. I like the fact that they don't call it AA. They call it Al-Anon.
Yeah.
That's really interesting to me, because I remember in the first season, everyone would report on it and say AA, always went AA. But the show always said Al-Anon. And by this season 3, the same people who wrote articles for season 1 have fully gone into saying Al-Anon. So it worked. And I don't know, I think that's a nice way to approach it, considering the stigma that I think AA has.
Well,
especially when
isn't Al-Anon specifically more for family members of people affected? I thought Al-Anon was more for people who were affected by alcoholism in their family, versus AA being more designed for individuals that have alcoholism.
I assumed that it was still the same thing. But they bring in those pamphlets where they talk about the different things that each child ends up being when they're a child of alcoholics. There was enabler, hero, scapegoat, mascot, and lost child. I, for one, think that Bernthal was multiple of those.
Of course, yeah.
But I think they're at the point now where everybody else working at the restaurant has now kind of taken one of those, even if they're not the children under what's her name? So.
Well, sometimes that's how, if you are in charge, if you're in charge of a lot and you have trauma that you can't stop projecting out into the world, everyone beneath you is then going to become victim of that same kind of trauma, and then start showing the effects as if they were in the same position. And that's really what so much of the season is about, is showing what got Carmy where Carmy is. Why is Carmy doing the things he literally keeps him up at night all the time, but he can't stop himself from doing, because he thinks like, this is what it means. And if I went through it, they have to go through it, because that's what, and I'm just not strong enough to have handled it, type thing. And then it kind of blows up in that.
Wrong, right?
He knows it's wrong because he like goes at the guy.
Yeah, you gave me ulcers.
My fucking life. Yeah.
And then a couple scenes later, she's doing the same thing. She's taking medication also for the anxiety and stuff that she has. So it's a ripple effect. There's one scene in season 1 where one of the dishwashers comes in and yells about the tape.
Yeah.
After he yells, he goes, "Whoa, why am I yelling?"
Yeah.
He just absorbed it like a sponge.
Yeah. And then suddenly you notice you're finished and it's just silence. So you're like, oh, fuck, I'm being so fucking loud. What the fuck?
Big part of it.
Yeah.
The season wraps up with a couple of episodes as they await a review, as Sydney debates her decision. And they get word that Ever, the restaurant that Carmy once learned at, the restaurant where Richie learned how to become a good host at, is closing down. So they all attend the closing party for Ever. And Carmy confronts David Fields, the Joel McHale character, his former abusive boss there. I thought it was a pretty remarkable episode. I loved, because I am a nerd for cinema stuff, that they did all the allusions to movie magic and real magic, and they're trying to get across the idea that the experience of fine dining is in a way its own kind of magic trick. And I think that's sort of like the main ethos of the show, is sort of making the case for why restaurants like this and food like this should exist, and the things that it can do to a person and the person's soul. So for me, this was actually a real standout episode. Even if I don't necessarily love where it ended, how do you feel about this final episode of season 3? Amanda?
It's good, and it has all these pieces of things I like, because it is following through on everything it's set up in that first episode, where it's showing, Carmy going through his learning stages, into Carmy being the chef, into how he's treating his staff because of the stress he's actually kind of putting on himself now for wanting to like redo a menu, and then unintentionally, even if it's not in the same way that like Mikhail's character kept being like, your food is shit, this is trash. It's him, oh, I'm pulling your meal off the menu, even though we worked on it and that was your contribution. And I expect you to still feel like you're contributing and like a valuable person here. And then it really comes to like her getting so stressed and kind of breaking down there, hearing all these other people's stories, realizing like, oh shit, I don't feel like I'm in a mutual respect situation anymore. I do feel like somebody is like lording over me like a terrible boss. Meanwhile, he's not even listening to anything happening, because he's just staring down Joel McHale's character at the other table, like just pent up. And then it must be such a piss off to actually approach that guy, not get an apology, not get I don't agree with that, just to kind of like, well, look at you now. You're a good cook, so it worked.
You're welcome instead of I'm sorry.
Literally. And I can so there's moments that are so good. It's just then it ends and you're like, that's it?
You got hit with that Thanos, I don't even know you.
Exactly. And yeah.
Yeah. I like, I'm watching my TV wanting Carmy to be like, there's a room full of people who got here that didn't have to go through what you put me through. But like it feels so true for that to just like knock him back and leave him with speechless, unable to respond. And it feels true to the behavior of abusers and narcissists to not really be repentant and not even find what you did to be of significant, and if anything, to be valuable.
And it's wrong, because it also shows him all the people that were kind to him, or maybe a little. So like there's one scene where Olivia Colman's like, do you need me to take over? She's not really being that rude, but then when he does it to someone else, it is way more aggressive. It is way more rude.
There is an alternate way to do it.
Yeah, when it's showing the things that he knows how to do and show people, it's people that were showing him how to do it with kindness, like the guy who comes in showing him how to like debone the chicken and get that all set up. And it's the people that have this like kind passion to the work they're doing that have made him a better chef. If everything that this guy's doing that he's now like, oh shit, did this make me a better chef? It actually fucked him up because he stood out when he said, I'm just going to do my dish the way I want to do it. And you send it out to somebody because it's an allergy thing. And he takes that step away from the person because he thinks they're wrong. So it is not, he's wrong when he's like when he actually is like, oh fuck, did this person? It's like, no, he didn't actually make you better at anything.
So again, that's why that first episode, the montage one, that's getting dismissed so much. A lot of storylines with Claire and stuff, they get dismissed so much.
Good.
Those are the most pivotal things because in that first episode, you're contrasting what his quiet kitchen was like compared to the loud kitchen. He's getting yelled at compared to Olivia Colman's character who had the every second counts. You see some of those inspirations come into
the cameo you were talking about from Real World Chef. I think it's Thomas Keller.
Yes. Okay. I didn't. Yeah. That's so nice.
And even at the end, like you guys are saying, all of those are real chefs just chilling there.
Just chilling.
And he's not paying attention to any of them because he's so concerned about this ex damn near that he has from the past that he's trying to get back at. And it makes sense. You understand that completely. Everyone would want to yell back at the person who left them with scars. But that first episode is so pivotal because he was only getting yelled at by that guy.
Yeah.
And never showcased to you what he learned from him. He learned from everybody else, and then he applied it over here. If anything, he learned from him subtraction and cutting the tape.
Cutting the tape. Yeah.
But everything else, like you mentioned, is from another chef who actually taught him how to cook, and then it was applied here. But you don't see it that way until you've scarred somebody else in the exact same manner.
Yeah.
He does have a sweeter exchange with Olivia Colman, and then Olivia Colman goes to party at Sydney's house for some reason.
Make it
a little bit TV convenience there to put all our favorite characters at Sydney's house, but I'll take it because it was fun to watch.
Who lived farther away too, by the way, as her father brought up.
Sydney ends the season in a panic attack, unable to tell Carmy what she wants to do with her future, whether or not she's going to take the offer from Adam Shapiro. And Carmy ends the season with a notification on his phone from the Chicago Tribune and a review that we see only in flashes, but includes the words brilliant, confusing. It seems mixed at best, but not necessarily negative, although not necessarily the kind of positive review that would help them keep the restaurant open. Did it feel conclusive, definitive enough for you, or did it not really feel as great of a finale moment as you were seeking from season 3? Art, why don't you start us off?
No, it's bait. It's bait through and through. From one, she should have made a decision. It's all completely open-ended. You don't know what she's going to choose. She has not even opened up the DocuSign. Like there's so much that they just left there that does get a little frustrating. So
it's into the Spider-Verse or across the Spider-Verse.
I'm not arguing with anybody who has problems with this because they didn't do it. You don't know what the review is going to be fully, because I would even argue that while you do see a bunch of the stuff, at best it's a mixed review, right? And that's not a negative review, but it's not a positive review. And that's what Uncle Jimmy needs, where he said, I'm going to close it up.
And he was going to close it up anyway by the sound of it. Even if it was positive, he doesn't have money anymore.
Like he's just not making money.
He just thought it would be a good excuse.
It'd be a good excuse, but the stars are supposed to, right? Yeah. We're still living in this world where the Chicago Tribune reviews really good. Yeah. It doesn't. Okay, sure. But he had previously, he kept imagining what it was. He kept seeing flashes of fake headlines. So I wonder if that's just every possible headline that it could be to him. Because even his phone, earlier on in the season, this is getting technical, I guess, but he doesn't have the face lock on. You can see what a message says. And this time, to keep it cryptic, it does stay locked. I would say the multiple calls from his uncle implies that it isn't a negative review, because it's like, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear when I see you, because it's over. But a positive one's like, boy, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
It's out. Because when the hell would the Chicago Tribune release an article at 12 at night? There was a lot of goofy stuff just to have a cliffhanger of an ending. That was really corny.
Yeah. And The Bear isn't a show that often feels like convenient, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And these were things that felt like plot conveniences, you know?
Too much.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are moments with like, you know, the money in the spaghetti, but that feels more like built up than this does.
Oh, if I may, the one for the spaghetti, I know episode 1 ends with him not wanting to do his menu, so he's gonna make spaghetti, and then he tosses it. I'm like, bro, that's 10K. That's 10K right there. Well, at least that's embedded somewhere in there, as goofy as it is. This, no one's dropping it at 12 p.m. No one's dropping a review at that time after your little party. Your phone's not gonna conveniently now be in locked mode. And you got to answer one question for the audience. Anything.
Yeah, just one.
There's got to be something. And there wasn't anything.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know what you guys are on her leaving and their positive review. I think the review will be positive enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think she should leave.
I think she should leave too, as much as I like don't want her to.
Yeah.
Like the logical decision is get away from the dude who keeps yelling at you and won't let you add stuff to the menu.
Yeah.
But if you remember, she failed on her own before. And she wants to be with somebody, not just running it herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's fair.
True. Although she
the
would
person
have Adam Shapiro.
She would. I don't like him. He gives me not him as a person, but in this movie, in the show, I mean, I get a weird vibe from him. And maybe it's just because I can tell Carmy really cares, but he's being so fucked up. But it's just, I think she will leave, but I think she'll come back. I think it's going to be one of those. I think, in my opinion, the review might be that the food was really good, but then it's actually his structure of how he's doing the restaurant that's getting the like misguided, confusing. Like it's confusing that we can get something that's so good, but then the next it's can only be sustained so long. But
sort of like his vision isn't seen, even if the review is good.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Zach shipping Will Poulter and her going to work at Everett.
I was about to say, I feel like Will Poulter gives her all the positives of dating Carmy without any of the negatives of dating Carmy.
Yeah, literally.
And I would not mind it. I'd be happy with more Will Poulter. Let's do it.
I love Will
that
Poulter.
character that he's playing there is such a vibe. Like
it's good. Like when he's all like with the needle. The needle. Do you do this? Is it this? Do you inject? Do you mold?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I wanted a little more Marcus this season as well.
Yeah, I was surprised they rolled him back quite a bit.
A little bit. He's supposed to be mourning the loss of his mom.
Which I thought that episode that was a little more centered on him was pretty strong. But I just like my boy.
He had one really good line. I'm trying to figure out what episode it would have been in, where Carmy's he kind of helps Carmy realize. I think he mentions, I was here when she died. I wasn't with her on her bedside. But that was fine because I know that she knew I was where I was supposed to be.
Yeah, and that's nice.
this is the season where they finally show you. Carmy had said it before. He never went to the funeral. He stayed outside. They finally show you that he was there. He just never went in. And it kind of answers something to him, like, "Hey, don't feel bad that you're here. The person that we lost, this is exactly where they would have wanted us. You're not supposed to be sad about it. They would want you to continue living life." And I thought there wasn't a lot of him, but I thought that was a top.
It was great. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah,
definitely.
There's lots.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have seen somewhere that Chris Storer talked about having a 3-season arc for the show, and at some point they talked it over and decided to extend it. Obviously, it's a huge success for everyone involved, and I wonder if basically what we're getting is the first half of what he originally had in mind for season 3. Yeah, we're getting 3A and 3B. Didn't they shoot them back to back already?
They said they were going to, and then they didn't get to. So they filmed some for the next one, but bro, they were filming it a week and a half before the show came out.
It's pretty crazy how they're able to turn it around. I mean, we're in this era where at best you get a new season of a show once every 18 months, and on the dot every year in June, FX drops a whole season of The Bear. So look, I can't complain about that. Even if this season isn't my favorite season of The Bear, it's still incredible TV.
Incredible season, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A couple episodes a little off, a couple episodes all-time greats.
Yeah.
And I'm going to rewatch this season probably a couple times too. So
same.
Still really appreciate it. Still really enjoy it. Still really enjoy getting the chance to talk with both of you about The Bear. So thank you, chefs.
Of course. Yes, chef.
Yes, chef.
Yes, Jeff.
That's Amanda the
Yes,
Jedi.
yes.
That's Arturo at LME Movies. I'm Zach Shevich, Z Shevich Multiplex Show. We do Intercut. You could listen to it or you could watch it. There's different places to do that. And you can also follow us on different places or support us in different places. I say it a lot, and there's links for it all over the place. So if you want to find it, you can find it. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, do you have a favorite quote from this season of The Bear?
Oh, there was a when she goes, "How do you know about that?" Pete, he loves William Friedkin.
That was a great one.
That was a great one. Yeah. Also, I think a good decent one would be whatever grows together, goes together.
Beautiful. I'll edit that one in.